The Atlanta Falcons have to move on from Zach Robinson immediately. He is currently their offensive coordinator, and he has been terrible with the Atlanta Falcons dating back to last year with this organization. They just lost to the Carolina Panthers 30-0, and this is an offense that has Michael Penix Jr., who he selected in the first round, Drake London, former first-round pick, Bijan Robinson, former first-round pick. You have Jake Matthews at the left tackle position and Chris Lindstrom. And you have Kyle Pitts, who has been a disappointment in the NFL, in my opinion, considering all the hype that he got coming out of college. They're saying that he was going to be this next great tight end. He hasn't been that. He's not a bad player, but he's not this all-time great either. But you have enough weapons on the offensive end to go out there and score points. But yet, you laid 0 points out there against the Carolina Panthers, who are 0-2 coming into this matchup. And it's not just this one game for Coach Robinson. He's been terrible all the way through. In week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you had this game won, but it was terrible play calling over and over again. Michael Penix Jr., 27-42, 298 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. He also had a rushing touchdown, 0 fumbles for him in this matchup. The longest pass of the day came behind a line of scrimmage to Bijan Robinson. That went for 50 yards. A great play by Bijan Robinson and a solid play call. But when that's the longest pass of the day, that's a problem. Darnell Mooney was a top deep threat in the NFL with Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Why are you not running those deep shots down the field? You have Drake London, who is a very good wide receiver in one-on-one situations. You're not drawing up those plays to get him the football in his hands deep down the field. Kyle Pitts, in theory, you would think him going against a linebacker or against a safety, those guys are cooked. That hasn't been the case either. It's the same pistol formation every single time. And this is why Kirk Cousins was getting beat up a lot early on last year. If you're a Falcons fan, you remember this. They went against the Steelers last year to open up the season. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, they won them that football game because they kept running the pistol formation over and over again. And here comes the defensive coach for the Steelers. He's moving those pass rushes around, and yet you stick into this pistol formation over and over. Kirk Cousins, some of his best moments in the NFL came from the shotgun, working with Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. And this was a man that was recovering from Achilles injury at the time. Michael Penix Jr., why did you select him in the first round? Because he ran a lot of shotgun at Washington, and for his arm and his throw power, pushing the football deep down the field, 2 weapons like Roma Dunze and the same with Jalen Polk. But instead, you turn this man to check down Charlie in every single game. And what the Carolina Panthers did today was just masterclass. They sat on top of those wide receivers, and you can look at Michael Penix Jr. inside the pocket. He's double clutching. He doesn't want to throw the football there. But those are the only options that are available. A bunch of routes behind the line of scrimmage. So now those defenders, they just eke out. They put their hands down. It goes down for a batted ball. Or if it's a curl route, you sit on top of the wide receiver. They're only going to go out there and get 4 to 5 yards at a time. That's it. With the weapons that you have, you're not getting the most out of them, and that is terrible coaching. I refuse to believe that all of a sudden Drake London is not a good wide receiver, and the same with Darnell Mooney. And the best player on this offense is Bijan Robinson. Now, Bijan Robinson is a phenomenal player. It's the reason why I selected him in the first round coming out of Texas. He's a great player. But you have other weapons outside of him that can give you more production, and you're not maximizing those opportunities for those players. Zach Robinson is a worse offensive coordinator and a worse offensive mind than Arthur Smith. And Arthur Smith was a bad offensive play caller, and he was a bad head coach with this organization. But you can make the excuse for Arthur Smith. This man had Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota throwing the football. You've had Kirk Cousins, who was a proven veteran in the game, and the same with Michael Penix Jr. So you bench MPJ in today's game against the Carolina Panthers as soon as they put in Kirk Cousins. Dink and dunk your way down the field. And you're down by 30 to 0. But in week 1, Michael Penix Jr. did everything possible to win that game. Younghoe Koo did miss that field goal. That's why they moved on from Younghoe Koo, because you bring in Parker Romo, who was phenomenal last week against the Minnesota Vikings. It's important to bring this up. He missed 2 field goals in today's matchup. They may bring back Younghoe Koo. But against the Minnesota Vikings last week, Michael Penix Jr., 13 of 21, 135 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He got sacked 3 times. Now, Brian Flores is a phenomenal defensive mind. He's seeing that blitz 90% of the time if you are a young quarterback. But the routes are still flat. The routes are still near the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. You're not pushing the football deep down the field. And I don't want to hear anyone use the excuse, well, Caleb McGarry, he's out at the tackle position. That is a huge blow to the Atlanta Falcons. Don't get me wrong. That's the blind spot with Michael Penix Jr. But you had time to prepare for that injury. This injury did not happen in week 1. This injury did not happen last week. This did happen late in the offseason, but this is why you have training camp. This is why you have practice. You work around those injuries. You still have Chris Lindstrom. You still have Jake Matthews at the left tackle position. If the right tackle position is such a huge problem for the Atlanta Falcons and they don't want to throw the football deep down the field because they don't want the plays to set up, it's going to take a lot of time, put Chris Lindstrom at the tackle position. That's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have done with Graham Barton. The mindset just isn't here with this team right now on the offensive end. And Raheem Morris, he does deserve some blame because you hired this man to be your offensive coordinator. You're the head coach. You take care of every single unit with this organization. Now, I do feel for him because the kicking with this team has been very inconsistent from last season and from this season. That's not all on Raheem Morris. But these bad coordinators, you had a terrible coordinator last year in Jimmy Lake. You move off him, you bring in Coach Brick. So far, Coach Brick has been a solid defensive mind. The defense is not the reason why they lost today's matchup. Yes, they did let up an opening score to Bryce Young that went for 7 points, but the defense did a very good job against the run, and they did a very good job against Bryce Young. Last week, the defense was getting after J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings constantly over and over again. The only reason why you won last week's game was not because of Zach Robinson. You won that matchup because of Bijan. You won that matchup because of Tyler Algier. And those defensive players were constantly getting to JJ over and over again. And the defensive players had some good moments in today's matchup. Caden Ellis did. The same with D. Alford. D. Alford did have a huge penalty late in the game, but he's very consistent. And I understand they were missing A.J. Terrell. A.J. Terrell does not play offense. He's not an offensive play caller. Don't use these injuries as an excuse to why they have piss poor coaching on the offensive end. And I'm tired of Coach Robinson saying, hey, we have to go back to the tape. You've went back to the tape for many weeks now, many months now, and you come up with the same play calls. You come up with the same formation over and over again. If you want to run pistol formation, draft a quarterback that ran pistol formation majority of the time coming out of college, and he'll be used to that system. But Michael Penix Jr. is primarily a shotgun quarterback, and I'm not saying go out there and run shotgun for the entire game. You want to have a balanced mix of plays. Run, pass, quick passes, deep passes, intermediate passes, all of that. Understand that. But Coach Robinson is one-dimensional and he's terrible. But to lose 30-0 against the Panthers, that's unexcusable. And Michael Penix Jr. did have 2 interceptions in today's game. One of those interceptions went for a pick 6. He did not play well today. He also deserves some blame. But I'm not going to come on here after just one tough loss and one bad game and say bench Michael Penix Jr. He performed very well last year with those 3 games. He performed very well the last 2 weeks, even though last week the Minnesota Vikings, he was more so of a game manager. Where is that Michael Penix Jr.? Where are those play calls that you had against the Washington Commanders, that you had against the New York Giants last year? You went away from pistol formation for 2 games, then you went straight back to it. That's what happened last year against the Carolina Panthers last game of the season. Despite the fact that your defense gave up a lot of rushing yards to Chuba Hubbard and crew on the ground. This is a terrible situation right now for the Falcons, but Raheem Morris can salvage this situation. You can go out there and you can move off of Coach Robinson and let the quarterback coach or the running backs coach, whomever else on the offensive end, call plays. Because for the ones that don't know, Raheem Morris, he's a defensive head coach. He's not going to go out there and grab that playbook and call offensive plays. That's not his forte. He's a defensive guy. But with all the resources that you have on the offensive end and all that young talent, they have to be better. I'm not giving up on the Atlanta Falcons, but it is very disappointing. All that momentum that you had in last week's game against the Minnesota Vikings, you come out and you lay a literal egg against the Carolina Panthers. And I will say this as well. Bring back Younghoe Koo on the practice squad and have another kicking competition. Even though those 6 points wouldn't help you in today's matchup, you still need a consistent kicker on this roster. So right now you have a busted offensive coordinator who can't call plays and a very inconsistent kicking problem with Parker Rummo or even Younghoe Koo. But they need to go out there and bring in an offensive mind that can help out this roster immediately. You're not going to go out there and bring in a coach right now because all the elite coaches, they're on the coaching staff. But hopefully someone else on this offense can go out there and help you out. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Atlanta Falcons right now and the offensive state of this team? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.